Howdy, and welcome to the aggieTEACH Momentum podcast, brought to you by the aggieTEACH Arts and Sciences program at Texas A&M University. I am your host, Kenrick Davies, former high school physics and astronomy teacher and current program manager for aggieTEACH Arts and Sciences. This podcast is meant to provide a little more insight and information to those seeking a secondary content teacher certification in Texas. We aim to provide episodes that help pre-service educators on the path to certification, as well as leverage the experience of myself and other guest speakers to support teachers in their first few years in the classroom. So today's topic is a great one. We're going to be talking to some first-year teachers. So our topic is the first year in the classroom. And today in the studio, we have guests Danae Jasek from Midlothian ISD, Kristen Sanders from Texas City ISD, and Luz Acevedo from Galena Park ISD. Welcome and howdy.
Howdy. Howdy.
All right, so I know all of y'all because you came through the aggieTEACH program, and y'all have spent a lot of the last academic year as a first-year teacher. Now, Kristen is actually going to be a little bit of a different voice for us. She came in to her classroom mid-year, so she's only spent this spring semester in her classroom, but all of you are spending your first year in the classroom, and that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about your experiences. So let's just kind of go around, and first question is just a simple, tell us who you are, what you're certified in, and where are you spending your first year in the classroom? And we know district, but tell us what you're teaching. So Danae, why don't we start with you?
Howdy, my name is Danae Jasek. I was certified in composite science 7 through 12, so I can teach really any science subject in the high school setting. But I am at Midlothian ISD at Midlothian High School, and I'm currently teaching chemistry. So I'm kind of split half and half, 3 sections of regular chemistry and then 3 sections of pre-AP chemistry.
Awesome. And Luz, let's go to you.
Howdy, my name is Luz Acevedo. I'm certified in mathematics 7 to 12, and currently I am teaching geometry at North Shore 10th Grade Center.
Awesome. And Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Sanders. I'm over here at Texas City ISD, right here at the high school, and I got a composite science certification. They currently have me doing chemistry and environmental science, about an even split between the two.
Awesome. So, okay, so we have your certifications, and what I didn't ask was about your major. So I kind of want to come back around to that. How well does your major sort of align with what you're teaching? So I know we have 2 composite science majors, which means y'all can teach anything. So Danae, what was your major?
I was a chemistry major.
Okay, so a pretty good alignment. Kristen, I know you're an interesting one because you were one of our university studies majors, right? What was your emphasis?
So my main focus was the 2 minors, chemistry and education, and I almost had a minor in geology. So
okay, so kind of all you have a lot of the earth science stuff, but you're teaching chemistry, so kind of a good alignment. Luz, I know you were a math major, right?
Yes, I was an applied math major.
Okay, so I think sometimes we have people who like look at the composite science, they're like, they're going to put me wherever they want to. And even with the math, like I can teach any math class. What if they put me in some place that is not going to be my strong suit? Was that ever a conversation on the front end for y'all? Like, did they ask you what you wanted to teach? Did you have an option to kind of pick your preferred area? Danae, I see you nodding your head. What about you?
Yeah, so when I applied for my current job, it was a specific chemistry position. So I knew coming in here that it would have been chemistry. And then when I interviewed, they told me it would also be pre-AP. But some other jobs I applied to were just like science. And then they were like, yeah, we're going to put you in chemistry and biology or something like that. So here it was already kind of, they specifically needed a chemistry teacher, but some other places they could have kind of put me wherever they wanted to.
Right. Kristen, what about you? Was yours a specific chemistry job, or were y'all kind of looking for everything?
So mine, since I took over for a teacher, I just picked up his schedule. So I didn't really have much of a choice. There's like, cool, you're certified, here, have this. But moving forward, they're really good about asking what we want to teach and then taking that into consideration for scheduling and stuff. So more than likely, I'm going to be either primarily chemistry or only chemistry next year.
That's good. So that's actually a good point. I think we're going to touch on that a little bit later, that you came in, mid-year, so you're taking over for somebody. So you're kind of just walking into somebody else's schedule. But moving forward, you do have a little bit. Luz, what about you with math? How well does your current teaching load sort of reflect your preferred teaching areas?
So when I interviewed for Galena Park, I got my interview because of the career fair. So I first interviewed with the district math specialist, and then they sent off my profile to different schools. And when I interviewed here, they told me like at the beginning that I'm going to be doing a geometry position, which I was comfortable with because that's what I was predominantly teaching during my clinical teaching. So they also asked me about my clinical experience, even with my other schools that I interviewed with.
So it seems like y'all landed pretty much wherever you wanted to. I think that's the strength for especially our content majors coming into this, that y'all are going to be so strong in your certification area that you're going to be kind of sought after for wherever. Did any of y'all have difficulty finding a job?
No.
That's kind of what I thought as well. We tout here in the program that we have a 100% employment rate for those that go into the classroom, and y'all said it right there that everyone wants Aggie teachers, right? Especially math and science, but everyone wants Aggie teachers. So awesome, great. Let's go into our questions here. If you could sum up your first year in the classroom into 3 to 5 words, what would they be? Luz, let's start with you.
So I picked 4 words. One of them is supporting, chaotic, caring, and patient.
I love the chaotic. I can certainly see that. Okay, supporting, chaotic, loving, and patient. Can you elaborate a little bit? Like, where does loving and patient come part of this?
So it was caring, but caring and loving is like goes along. I really love my students. Like I look forward to seeing them, and then it's patient because I have to be patient with myself because it's my first year teaching, but it's also have to be patient with the children as well because it's like it's been a while since they've done like this type of math or like they've never done it before. And then supporting because I get a lot of support from my admin and from the other teachers around me.
Good.
So it's like I feel very loved in my position. And then chaotic because it's
it's first year, yeah. It's learning on all sides, right? It's learning on the student side, but you're learning as well. So I can see all of that. Danae, let's go to you. What sort of words did you come up with?
I also chose 4 words. I said informative, fun, adaptive, and high energy as my words.
Awesome. Anything you want to elaborate on? Like high energy. I love the high energy part of that. Why did you pick high energy?
I picked high energy, one, because my students are crazy. Sophomores, they have such high energy. So they bring the high energy, but then also like constantly doing labs and activities in here. So it's just always a lot going on. But then also we kind of talked about it earlier about being high energy and like having to get used to that as a teacher, like long days, being on your feet all the time. And so you have to get used to kind of having that schedule after being in college for so long.
True. Yeah. But in my experience, and you can tell me otherwise, but when the students have high energy, that almost kind of invigorates me as a teacher, right? I coming in, I'm going to have that high energy too. I'm going to meet them where they are and let's just do this, right? And you said fun. I feel like that high energy goes right in with fun. What about some of the other words? So where'd you come up with them?
Yeah, so fun definitely, I think it partially has to do with like the labs and everything, but we also just try to have fun showing like back when we were teaching periodic trends, we showed like videos of different explosions based on how reactive certain elements were and everything. So just having fun all the time. I said informative because I think it's taught me a lot about myself as a teacher, but then I've also learned just kind of what life's like in the classroom in general. And then adaptive, having to like constantly, like Luce was saying about things being chaotic, having to constantly be on your toes, changing things up, adapting things to like me as a teacher, but also just like as classes, kind of changing things up based on the students that are there. So
yeah, I totally see that. I'm thinking of something I heard about teachers. We make so many micro decisions all day, like 1,000 micro decisions all day long. And do y'all ever suffer from decision fatigue? Like you go home and you're just like, what do you want to do for dinner? And you're like, I don't know. Please don't ask. I remember having that. Oh, yeah, all the time, all the time. It's just like, I don't want to make another decision. Okay, Kristen, what about you? What were your words?
So I only chose 3. I went with challenge, fun, and rewarding.
Hey, fun shows up 2 out of 3 times. That's great. Okay, what about challenging? So you said challenge. Where's that coming from?
So I said it's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot to learn and not much time to do it. You kind of like for mine, I got sent to HR to finish paperwork, and then they're like, okay, you're starting the classroom tomorrow. I'm not prepared. So a lot of fly by the seat, but making it work.
I totally get that. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, wait, you want me to start already? Even I think even I remember my first year, it was you do your paperwork and you have professional development maybe for a few days or maybe a week, depending on the district. And then it's just like, okay, they're coming Monday. You're like, wait, what? Like, I'm not ready. Like I totally get that. What were some of the other words you had? So you said fun too, and you said
Mhm.
challenging. What was the other one?
Rewarding was my last
Rewarding. I
one.
love that. Tell me a little bit about that. Why'd you choose rewarding?
So for some context, I have a lot of the students that are like in and out of DAEP. They're truant a lot. So it's if I can even get them in the classroom, that's a win. And coming from like other people that have been here a lot longer than I have, they come in and see that, okay, these students are coming in, they're getting what they need, they're getting started, they know where to look, they know where to keep their stuff. That's something that they've never had. So just seeing the transition and the growth is extremely rewarding whenever I think about it.
That's yeah, that's great. I mean, to think about. I mean, you can all do this now. Think about the student at the beginning of the year versus the student now, or the beginning of the semester versus the student now, and you think how much have they learned, how much have they grown, how much have they matured. A lot of times, especially in the sophomores, sophomores need a lot of maturing that happened. Even juniors and seniors sometimes need a lot of maturing. So at this point, you get to see that, right? You get to see how much they've changed. That's great. I almost want to go back to the classroom now. So well, let's talk about successes. Kristen, you were already kind of talking about successes in the classroom. Can you point to anything specific? There's been one really great success that you've had this year, this semester.
I think most recently, it's just fresh in my mind because it happened this week. I had my first formal observation and I was expecting, like, okay, cool, you're doing good, maybe some growth areas, but I actually ended up hitting all proficient, which is our normal level, and then actually had a few advancing. I was doing like hands-on labs and working through notes with the students, and the students are loving the hands-on stuff, but then also my observer and everything is like, this is fantastic. This is something we haven't been able to have in here yet.
That's great, especially when they recognize that you're bringing something to the table that they haven't experienced and they're excited about it. That's I think that's a hallmark of good admin. Of course, I don't know your situation, so I hope there's a good admin. But yeah, that sounds awesome. Danae, what about you? What's a good success that you've had this year?
I think my success is probably finding my place on campus, both with my admin, with my team, and with my students. And so I get to see my principal. It was a lot more in the fall. Now it's been kind of crazy with testing and everything. But in the fall, we got to see each other probably about once a month with her doing walkthroughs and observations. And so kind of just having that relationship with her where she could give me advice and I was able to kind of show her where my thinking was and trying to get the students to learn more from each other than from me. Um, Admin has been super great. And then my team has probably been the biggest surprise because coming in, I was feeling like maybe I might have to do everything on my own. First year, I feel like sometimes people are welcoming, but sometimes, you're like that outsider that they don't really know. But
True.
my team has been super, super helpful. We meet for PLC once a week and like any question I have, they can answer it. They're always available to like help me through things, but then I also can like bring in new things and uh just work together super well. And then creating relationships with my students, I kind of had experience with that. I feel like that's kind of what I was the best at during my clinical teaching,
Yeah.
just because we are so close in age with them. It's kind of easy to get that relationship going. But then also this year, like as their teacher and kind of authority figure in the classroom, it was also easy to make sure I have that line and boundary where I don't cross over. I'm still have a relationship with them, but it's not where I'm like their friend that they can just hang out with in the classroom and only see me once a day. So
Yeah. So since you brought it up, have any of y'all experienced a little bit of, I don't know, issue may not be the right word here, but some of those weirdness around the fact that you are not that far off in age from your students? Have there been any weird interactions that have come around from this?
mine mostly has just been the students are like I'm closer in age to you than I am my sister or something like that. But it's
Yeah.
mostly just like sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, have you seen this like TikTok or something?" Or like they want to like relate to me on a like way outside of school. But it's
Yeah.
been pretty easy to keep it professional as long as, you shut things down and be like, "I'm your teacher. I can't answer that," or something like that. So
Yeah. Have any of y'all seen your students outside of class yet? No.
Ironically, one of my students is actually my parents' neighbor. So sometimes I'll go
Nice.
visit my parents and she'll be like, "Hey, Miss Sanders," and I'm like, "Hi."
Yeah, that's great. Just wait. Be ready for it. Yeah,
Actually,
I never lived anywhere that I taught, so I never had the opportunity of like seeing them in the grocery store for the most part. It's still weird to see them out in public, and they're gonna find it weird too. So, they're just be prepared.
I did
Um,
see I did
yeah.
see one of my students in a festival, and we both acknowledged not to acknowledge each other.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, I feel like I've done that too, where like I've seen a student across the hall or from the mall or something like that, and I'm like, I see you. I'm hoping you don't see me. We're not going to acknowledge each other. That's hilarious. Although sometimes it's just really fun to talk to them in public, even if it's for embarrassing them or something like that. So I remember when I was in the first couple of years, I had the same sort of comments. I remember students saying, I have a brother who's older than you, and I'd be like, cool, I've got two that are older than me, so it's no different. So it's kind of funny to turn it around and say it's really not that big of a deal, and say, okay, all right, Luz, success for you. What you got?
So I have like Danae was saying, one of them is like getting to know my students as well, like just doing like interacting with them in the halls and like learning all of their names. Because my school is a 6A school, so
Nice, big.
it's a big school, yeah. So it's just getting to learn their little quirks and just having them be comfortable with me as a teacher. And then also like a win I had or a success I had is just learning how to kick children out of your classroom when they're being disruptive. Because
It's a
that's
skill.
something,
It
yeah,
is a
it's like
skill.
I didn't do it. My first time doing it was last week because I don't know, because it's not like within my personality or like maybe it's something I just haven't built up to kick them out because they're being disruptive. But I had enough and I was like, just leave my classroom, go to the AP office and
Yeah.
like,
It is a skill, and it's not one that I think a good teacher does not use that very often, but still uses it, right? I mean, if it gets to the point where the student needs to be removed from the class, you do that. And so I think this is probably going to work its way into some of our areas of growth that we're going to talk about, and that's classroom management, right? I mean, the idea of you handle things in your classroom as much as possible, but sometimes you just can't do that, right? I mean, sometimes you have to remove the disruption and move on. So I like that that's your success, that you went ahead and did this. Like you took it upon yourself to do this. I absolutely love that. Is there anything else you want to share?
and then also like something that because my school is very so we have them focus on TSIA for the math, and it's just helping them learn how to use like because they in algebra one they learn how to use Desmos, um, and so when they came to geometry, we're like no more Desmos, only a four function calculator. So it's
Oh,
like teaching them how to solve for X, and it's
yeah.
something like it's been a year-long process, but just seeing them be confident in solving for something, like it brings me pride.
Yeah. I think so many teachers point to that light bulb moment of a student, like when they finally get it, that's that rewarding, Kristen, like you were saying, rewarding part of being a teacher, just knowing that you had a part of that. And I love that y'all are getting to experience that. So that's awesome. So if we swing this around to our areas of growth, let me actually do it this way. Knowing and kind of expecting answers here, how many of y'all, you can show by hands, feel like an area of growth is classroom management? Okay, Kristen, I like you. I like you. Yeah. So explain to me why you feel like you think you got a handle on classroom management. Everyone's got something to learn, but I love your confidence. Why do you think you got it?
I mean, this is probably just because of different experiences I've had in life, and I'm quite a bit older than my students. I don't have quite deal with that issue,
Mhm.
it's a lot easier for me to slip into the authoritative role, and they know it's like, okay, I'm not allowing you to do this stuff. You know the rules and procedures, you know the consequences that's going to happen if you don't follow them.
Right.
And other than every now and then, it's been pretty smooth going as far as classroom management. I also have smaller classes, so that helps a lot.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and of course, it's good to remind everybody that classroom management is not just about the bad things. It's not about handling those disruptive students, not about, um, what the rules and consequences that you put into place. It is about how to manage your classroom in an effective way. And I know that both Danae and Luz, you both have talked about relationships, right? That you feel like you are really good at building relationships. If I had to guess, that is probably a real big strength in your classroom management. So what what are some things that you feel like you still need to struggle or you still struggle with that you still need to work on? Danae, what about you?
So first thing, I student taught in or clinical taught in the spring semester, so I didn't really get to see like my mentor teacher's whole beginning of the year plan with like setting up rules and routines. So it was really my first time doing it this year. And so I think having that whole first week or so of the school year planned out and like how we're gonna do certain things and how I expect you to behave in the classroom and everything. So I think that's really where I am looking forward to getting to my second year. And then also managing misbehavior is where I feel like I struggle a little bit, especially when you have a class full of football players and everything where they're all just like crazy and wanting to move around and talk the whole time, like being able to reel that back in and make sure my class is where everyone feels comfortable to learn.
Yeah, and every period is not going to be like that, right? You have one period that's got all
Yeah.
the football kids in there, and then you got another period that may have all the band kids in there, or whatever. And every period is very different. Luz, what about you? What are some of the areas of classroom management you think that you still need to work on?
For one, it's like, so it's like, since it's like almost at the end of the year, it's just reinforcing those first beginning rules. Because for example, I take up my kids' phones and at the beginning of class, like before they walk into my classroom, I take them up. But it's like, it's just, I've been a little lax with it. Um, so it's just reinforcing the rules and expectations that I put for my classroom and just keeping forward with it. And like Danae said, also the behavior is something, because it's like, I'm not very confrontational. So that's still something I struggle with. I let them sit where they want. And then like they already have their official, unofficial, official assigned seats. So like they sat there, now that's their seat.
Yeah,
But it's
that's how
just
I
like,
used to do it. Yeah,
and it's also like like you said, different classrooms have different
personalities.
vibes. Yeah, personalities. So it's just like if I do it for one classroom, will it work? Is it like should I implement it to all my classrooms or just that one classroom?
Yeah.
So it's just like something I struggle with still.
Yeah, I can see that. And of course, if you're going to treat all your classrooms differently because of the vibe or the personality, then remembering, okay, fourth period has this extra rule and then second period doesn't. And, I can totally see how that would be an issue. I think, coming back to, again, I think all three of y'all are really good at developing those relationships with students, is what it sounds like from y'all's descriptions of how your classroom is running. And that right there is probably 80% of classroom management. And the other parts, they'll fall into place as you have more experience, you get a little bit older, and you just spend more times in the classroom. But the fact that y'all are talking through it and reflecting on it now, I think is really powerful. And so y'all, Danae, you're the one who even said, I'm looking forward to my second year taking all this knowledge into it. So experience is by far the best teacher for a teacher. So that's great. That's great. So I'm gonna turn this more towards a self-serving sort of topic here, and that's saying aggieTEACH, right? You came through the aggieTEACH program. So the question is, what parts of the aggieTEACH program did you find useful? Have you found helpful? Have you been able to lean into in your first year to thrive in your situations? And I don't know. Let's go the other way around. We'll go Luz, Kristen, Danae. Go for it.
Okay. One of the things is lesson planning. So I know different TFB, I think, if I
Yeah.
remember right. TFB classes had like they had like different ways that you can lesson plan, and that really came in use for some of my lesson because for some the way my team works is like we each get a lesson to plan, and we all share it with one another. So it's just like finding the notes, finding the assignment to do, and just the different stuff. It's just that's been helpful, especially when reflecting back to my student teaching experience. Um, and then likewise with the student teaching, it was helpful because it gets you used to like the long days,
Right.
the early mornings, and the long days that go with it.
Yeah, it's different than a college student schedule, right? Where you can take a 2 hour nap in the middle of the day between classes. Yeah, that's it. You get used to it, and it takes a little bit to get used to. So I like that the aggieTEACH program. It really any program that has clinical teaching will support that. But I like that you brought up the lesson planning, the specific things that you were taught within those courses that helped you out. So that's great. Kristen, what about you? What about our program has helped you out?
So I said that being able to build a network quickly has helped quite a bit. So I've already established like connections with coaches, my specialists and the librarians, like all over the place. I was like, I'm not afraid to ask questions. And I think a lot of that is just confidence and getting to know people within our program. And then being confident in what I do know because of the classes and stuff. And that's having those experiences and having like the 40 hours a semester of being in the classroom even without doing my formal clinical teaching, um, really helped build that confidence. And I don't mind coming into conversations be like, well, what about we doing this? And I've seen them go, oh yeah, that's a cool way we didn't ever think of. Yeah, that'd be a good idea to do it.
Yeah, that's great because I mean, obviously, y'all are new to the profession, which means you're still learning certain ins and outs of it. But being new to the profession also means that y'all have a fresh look at how to do things, right? You're just coming out of your coursework and you're having all these really cool tools that you've learned about, these ideas. And if someone who's been in the classroom for 20 years, maybe doing the same thing for the last 10, and you can come in and confidently say, well, what about this? I think that would be really good. I I went through this program, right? I mean, I'm an aggieTEACH alum, and I feel like that is a really strong part of the program. Everywhere I went, I never had a hesitation to voice my opinion about how we did things, or challenged why we did things a certain way. So I think that's a really good plus, and I appreciate that. Danae, what about you?
I would say the part of aggieTEACH that helped me the most was probably the seminars that we were able to go to every semester. I think we always had like that opening, I don't know what it's even called, like the opening.
Our kickoff.
Yeah, kickoff meeting every year. And so that's when we would like get to see everyone again and like get a little information there. But then we also had the seminars that we could attend throughout the semester. And so some of them were geared towards like specific areas of teaching. Like I think I went to one on classroom management and technology in the classroom and everything. And so those were always helpful to get just a little snippet of things that you might not learn about in your other classes, especially in secondary classrooms. But then also, I think the ones that probably helped me the most before I was actually able to clinical teach in the classroom was hearing from clinical teachers and first year teachers, kind of like the lessons that they learned. We would be able to have kind of like a Q&A session with them, what they learned, what advice they would have for us. And so those were always super helpful. And even looking back on them now, stuff that I kind of remember learning about then helped me in my first year.
Great. Yeah. I mean, as we've already talked about here, is that experience is the best teacher. So learning from more experienced people is really going to be a way to get a leg up in this. So I'm glad that part of the program was helpful for you. And y'all are doing the same thing, right? Y'all are now in the classroom recording this podcast so that some future student is going to be listening to this and go, man, that sounds super fun. I can't wait to get in the classroom. So I appreciate y'all spending the time with me to do that. So we're kind of wrapping up here, and we're going to end with what's one piece of advice that you have for a student who may be about to finish their clinical teaching, maybe about to go into their first classroom, even if you want to direct it to people who are even thinking about teaching in general. Just what is that bit of advice that you have for a new pre-service teacher? Danae, what's yours?
Mine would definitely be find support from those around you and don't be afraid to lean on that. We had a first year like PD, kind of the first week of summer before we had our like district PD, and I was able to meet my mentors, and I actually saw them yesterday. We had a little first year thing, but being able to lean on top of them when they're not in my subject, one's an English teacher, one's a math teacher, and just kind of learn what they teach like and not necessarily like how to teach their subject. That's been super helpful. Like I talked about earlier, my team, being able to lean on them, and then just overall like finding support not just from people at my school, but from teachers everywhere. Support from aggieTEACH and getting your emails that when you sent that email in October about how you might be feeling like you did the wrong job, but you didn't actually get the wrong job. Just everything like that, and making sure to be open and receive that support. Don't be afraid to ask for help is definitely super important.
That's great. Yeah, there's two things I want to hit on here, and that is mentoring program. So just show of hands, how many of y'all have like a mentoring program for first year? Okay. Yeah, I feel like pretty much every district does. So that's a really important part of that first year, right? To be able to lean into a mentor. Now, some mentoring programs are not as great as others. I had a mentor and she was a physics teacher, but she was like the worksheet queen. She'd been around for 25 years and she would just go to her filing cabinet, pull out the worksheet for the day, and then that's what she did. So I really had to lean into just my background and content knowledge and ideas to push myself forward. But I'm glad that the mentoring programs are available for y'all. And then you brought up the email that I send out. There's a reason why we sent it out in October, right? And I'm going to lean into Danae and Luz here. How was y'all's October? Was it terrible?
It was very terrible. I had to take a mental health day.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It
don't
was
know what
tough.
it is. Yeah. I don't know what it is about October. It's just, I don't know. It's just halfway through the semester. You're looking forward to the breaks in November and December. I don't know. So we designed that email specifically for that. And we have that first year teacher curve that's in there, and how October just really is kind of a bottom point of the first year. And really it's every year, but the first year is pretty accentuated. So I'm glad that aggieTEACH can continue to support you in those areas. So Kristen, what's your piece of advice?
So I'd say it can be extremely overwhelming at the beginning, regardless if you've gone traditional route or alternative route. Be like a sponge, take in everything, but then at the end of the day, take a second to kind of filter through everything you had. Pick out things that you think are going to work for you, toss out what you know is definitely not going to work for your style, and make sure what you're working with is comfortable for you. Make sure your room is comfortable. Make sure your systems and stuff are comfortable to you and your personality. Because if it's not, it's going to grade against you and it's going to wear you out faster.
I totally agree. Yeah, if you design a process and it just does not function the way that you thought it was, change it, right? Find something that's new. Even the temperature of the room. I always kept my room pretty cold, and all of my students would be like, "God, it's so cold in here." It's like, so this is my room. This is my house. I spend all day here. You're just a visitor, right? You can put on a jacket. Like, this is where I'm comfortable. So I appreciate that piece of advice. I love it. Luz, what's yours? What's your piece of advice?
Um, One thing is like it's like the name was saying, don't be afraid to reach out to other teachers that are not in your like content, because sometimes they can provide more advice, or like something you need to hear from them that you're not exactly hearing from other teachers. Also, don't be don't be ashamed of the bust, like of the bad lessons, because they're like it happens. Like I had a bad lesson. What was it? Last Monday. And I was like, well, I'm scrapping this lesson. And I had to break it down even more. So, because the way we do it at my school is a block schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an A and B. So my A day, that was that was a bad lesson. And sometimes it's just like, well, I know what to do for my B day. So I can modify the lesson. And it's like, and it's okay because they had a makeup day on Friday. So it's just like, and you have to be truthful with them. When my A day came back on Wednesday, I was like, hey guys, so that lesson on Monday, that was not good. And I acknowledged that. So also be honest with your students. It's like, I've also done it before when we were teaching transversals and angles. I was like, okay guys, well, I got ahead of myself, my bad. So I'm redoing the lesson. So hopefully if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, that's really important, especially for a new teacher. Like you can go in with all of the ideas, right? You think all of these ideas are going to be great. I'm going to overhaul this unit. I'm going to do this really fun activity. I'm going to do this. And then first period comes in and it just bombs, right? And you're going to be disappointed, I would imagine. I mean, it's happened. I've been through this. And you retool, right? I mean, hopefully you can retool for the next period. If not, then you look for small things to fix. But yeah, when you spend a lot of time designing something and then it just doesn't work out the way that you hoped, yeah, you got to be honest with the students. I think that's a really good point. You got to be honest with the students and say, hey, look, I thought we would try something new. It totally did not work out. We're going to try to figure out how to work through this. I was always honest with the students, especially when we were trying something new, because I always went big. I was like, we're going to do this big project. We're going to build catapults. We're going to build radio telescopes. We're going to build something. And I don't know how it's going to run. I have no idea what I'm doing, but we're going to follow these instructions on this website and we're going to do it. And I think they appreciated that. I think they appreciated that. Okay, he's trying something new. We're trying something fun. I get to use a power drill. That's cool. So, I really do think those students appreciate when a teacher is putting in the work to make their class, fun and exciting and engaging. So that's a really good piece of advice. Okay, so I again want to say thank all of you for coming in and spending some time and helping the next generation of teachers. We are out of time. The aggieTEACH Momentum podcast drops every 2 weeks, so make sure that you're looking for the next episode on Spotify or linked on the aggieTEACH Arts and Sciences website. For more information, you can visit our program website at aggieTEACHartsci.tamu.edu. That is aggieTEACH, ARTSCI.tamu.edu. Thanks and gig 'em.